Another windy day in Pennsylvania. Trying to adjust my microphone a little bit. I got some stuff up under my helmet here to try and block some of the wind out. I'm going to try to talk a little softer because I noticed in my last few videos that I was a little loud with my voice. So I'm going to try to talk a little softer, maybe a little quieter. Hopefully that works out a little better. If you're a headphone user and you were watching my last videos and you got your ears blown out, I apologize. So we're going to try a little harder now to make it a little easier on your ears, a little less wind noise. But I guess this icon variant's just a little noisy, and I guess there's not much I can do about it. I have all the flaps closed, not that there's a whole ton of them. I used to have an Arai when I had my sport bike that I could close a whole bunch of flaps on it. It would be really quiet, and it sounded really good actually inside. It was, as if it was cold, you could open the valves and things like that. But I'm sorry, yeah, if it was cold. If it was warm, you could open the valves. If it was cold, you'd want them shut. But this helmet is just a lot windier. There's our first buggy of the day. I bet it just pooped somewhere over on this hill. But it's Sunday. Going on a beer run. We're allowed to have beer. Allowed to. There's a lot of businesses right now that are non-essential, but beer distributors are essential. I guess, we're taking care of the alcoholics in the world, which is okay. I mean, I'm not upset about it. I'm not upset at all that the beer stores are open because I like to enjoy beer. I don't, however, drink and ride. In my entire riding career, I may have had one beer and then gotten on my bike. So it's just not something I do. My reasoning was when I had my GSXR, obviously I was a kid on a GSXR, on a sport bike, on a crotch rocket that was bound to do something dumb. Regardless of how responsible I tried to ride, there was always a time that I would just, pick the front end up or go a little faster than I should have been. So I thought that if I was drinking, it just increased my chances of doing something stupid or getting hurt, so I never did that. That carried through onto this bike, any bike I've ever ridden. That I think one time I had this bike at a friend's house and I had a beer with him and then rode home, but I limited it to one, and I can honestly say that I did limit it to one beer. So I'm not a hypocrite. I try to be very careful with that kind of stuff, especially, my job relies on me having a driver's license. So if I lose my license, I kind of lose my job. And I can't afford to do that. So I will just continue to be safe, continue to try to be responsible with it. While riding. Riding and driving, I should say that. I should be a safe driver regardless of what vehicle you're in. As I accelerate hard and speed. So, I had a bald eagle fly over me yesterday. I was out on this, didn't have my camera for some stupid reason, I guess because forgot it for some reason. And this bald eagle flies, not this road, but a road similar to this. Flies over top of the road, circles back, and then it starts swooping down and grabs something out of a field. Literally, like right at the edge of those trees right there. That's how close I was to this bird. I saw it, the girl in front of me in her car saw it. And she starts slowing down and I slowed down. And it's just an incredible bird. Absolutely incredible to see something that big. I mean, I'm 6 feet tall. And that bird's got a wingspan of my height, which I can't. It's amazing that there's a bird that big that can fly under its own power. And the fact that they're coming back is also incredible. I mean, they were endangered for a long time. And now we're starting to see a surge in the population again. I wish we could see one, but I think as windy as it's been, we're probably not going to see one. There is one that lives in this area, so I thought I would come this way while talking about this to see if I could catch a glimpse of it. But no such luck. It appears that I'm not going to have that luxury right now. So this bald eagle swoops down into the ground and grabs something. I couldn't see what it grabbed. It didn't appear to be anything, but it got a hold of something. Here I am talking loud again. I'm sorry. And off it goes, you know, with whatever it was in its talons. So this girl and I both saw it. We continue on up the road. I catch a red light. I go up beside her, and I got a helmet on, so she has no idea what I'm doing. But I motioned like a bird. And we both saw that. And she's like, I could see her saying in her voice, she's like, "Oh my God, that was so amazing. It was so big." And of course, the Michael Scott in me wanted to say, that's what she said. But, you know, I was too excited about the bald eagle because I'm that kind of a guy, you know. Like I said in my last video about appreciating the things that we can see, appreciating the things that are around us is, you know, a bald eagle is like one of the most amazing things just because of what it signifies with what's going on lately or with our country and how people, the bald eagles are just awesome because of what they signify. I mean, I'm not the most patriotic guy in the world. I wasn't in the military. I was too much of a wuss, so I just never did it. You know, I have all kinds of excuses, but basically it comes down to that I just didn't have the stones to join. And, you know, I wish I would have, but everything happens for a reason. You know, I have several friends that were in the military, and you know, I could never do what those guys did. So, back to the bald eagle, it's amazing what that can signify for some people. And yet, the cars behind us were probably looking at us wondering, you know, why are these idiots slowing down? What are they looking at? You know, oh, it's a bird, who cares? But it was just cool to be able to experience that and, you know, enjoy it for a little bit. This isn't what I had planned on talking about on this run, but, you know, it's a pretty cool tangent. I have ideas of things that I want to talk about, and then I get out here and I'm like, oh, that's kind of dumb. There's a pretty limited audience for some things. Like, I thought about coming out and talking about homeschooling and teachers and things. We just recently canceled schools. Well, we didn't, obviously, but the powers that be canceled school for the rest of the year, and now I hadn't planned on buying another iPad, but I had to purchase another iPad. I guess I didn't have to, but I did for the sake of my kids being able to do their schoolwork. So I got a new iPad so my daughter could do all of her schoolwork. It was about, you know, I didn't get the most expensive one. I try not to be too frugal. Like when I bought my GoPro, I could have bought a Hero Black, but I got a Hero 8 Black, but I didn't. I got a 7 Black because it was on sale. It was only like $229, which we'll talk about that again, but there's some things that I wish I would have known before purchasing this thing. So the homeschooling thing was just, I can't believe the amount of work that these teachers have got to put into what they're doing. And you really have to love your job to deal with all those little kids all day long, every day. This right here, parking area, is an access for a rail trail right there. The rail trail runs several miles. And they tried, you know, people are trying to be responsible and social distance, and they go out there on this rail trail and walk together and pass each other. You know, it's just funny. You can do that, but I can't get a haircut. Figure that out. So back to the teachers. You know, they really are worth every penny they're paid, in my opinion. But I think they could probably be treated a little better because of how much they do it. I'd like, you know, my oldest is 6, and my youngest is 5. You know, we got a first grader and a now kindergartner. I gotta stop here, dude. Okay. He has the right of way, but I guess he doesn't know how to pull a trailer, so whatever. Big old jacked up truck. So, you know, we had 2 at home, a first grader and, well, it was preschool. That's kind of a finished up thing now. That there was something laying in the road back there. I want to go see what it was. This is like a piece of metal, screw it. it's just a huge undertaking. When you're not, I guess when you're not prepared for something like that, it's a big deal to accomplish it, or to start doing something like that. I guess if I had to suddenly switch careers, you know, it would be very difficult for me to figure it out, and frustrating at times. But my wife has, you know, taken over the reins as teacher for our kids, and it's just impressive how well she handles it, and I would get so frustrated with it. So thank God I'm not the one that has to do all of it. I don't know how single parents are doing it. It's definitely a weird time. But so back to the teacher's comment is 20-some kids in a class that are all, you know, first graders. I don't know, if you don't have kids, it's kind of hard to explain, but if you don't have kids but you have a dog, it's like having a puppy that wants to be doing 5 other things than what you want them to do, and you got to kind of keep them on track. If anybody has kids and they argue at that point, then that's your opinion too. But like I said, I think it's hard to explain to someone that doesn't have kids what it's like to have kids. And you can't, anybody can tell you that being a parent is difficult, or it's the greatest job in the world, and this and that. But until you're actually a parent, you don't have a clue. And it's just like with the teaching thing. You know, unless you're a teacher, you don't have a clue what those teachers are having to deal with. And, you know, the last 4 or 5 weeks has been quite the eye-opener for what these teachers have to deal with. So I have a newfound respect for teachers that I didn't before. You know, when I was in school, I was a punk. You know, I didn't listen to my teachers. I didn't apply myself. I didn't want to be there. I had all kinds of better things to do. But now as a parent, you know, I see why my mom was frustrated. So much of me, I don't want to say rebelling, but being the way that I was as far as school goes. It's just not something that I was interested in, so of course I wasn't going to try. Now if it was about motorcycles and girls, I would have been interested in it. Which that's pretty much what took up my time as a high schooler. Or middle school to high school, I shouldn't say all my time. But so the teachers are at home scrambling to get all this work done now so that our kids can still have an education, and it's quite the eye-opener. So, you know, sorry about the little tangent here about things and bouncing around from teachers to bald eagles and back and anything else, but yeah, thanks for taking a break with me. See you guys on the next one.